Hey, this is Forced Into This. I'm Allan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hello,
this-
I'm Alex. The only person. It's just me and Alan today.
Yeah,
Like it should have been from the beginning. No, I'm kidding.
Brother Girl podcast.
Alright, what were we talking about, Alan, before?
Like what specifically?
We were gonna lead into something. I forget.
Talking about North Korea.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We were talking about North Korea. Okay, so, like, they wanted to make a peace deal or whatever, and make a reunification with South Korea. And you see the recent thing with the Olympic Games and stuff. And it's kind of crazy to think about because, like, I know a lot of South Korean people got pissed off about that, how they, some of the Olympic team, I think it was the Olympic runners or something. No, or it was the hockey team. I don't know, or skaters. I don't know, some Olympic team. They get pissed off because they were, like, North Korean people were going to be represented as well. I think they had to take off South Korean team members. I'm probably completely wrong. But it's crazy just because, I mean, I'm a very, I don't like intervention. And I think diplomacy is always the way, which is really weird because, like, this whole massive push, like the fact that North Korea is, like, scared the bone and they're doing all the super reactionary
Well,
things.
I mean, it's not
actually
like
really crazy.
Look, it's not like Obama's administration where they were sort of idle threats. They were still threats, but Trump sounding like he wants to actually blow them up. And
Yeah, and do World War III, and that's weird because you wouldn't think you would get the exact opposite reaction if we're going off any other country ever. It's weird that we're getting this type of reaction where it's not the U.S. that is the ones trying to get peace. It's the North Koreans that are the ones trying to be like, hey guys, come on, did you guys?
I mean, I'd be afraid, if I was in what's his face, Big Chinaman, shoes.
Oh yeah. What?
Like, I forget his name. Kim Jong-un. That's it. I'd be afraid if I was in this situation because he may have a tiny nuke or something, but America, they got like 300 or so underground, just ready to fire at them.
Yeah, and it's like you had, like, I don't know if, like, the fleet of carriers or whatever that, like, the U.S. sent over, I don't know if they left. I think they did. But, like, with the recent, like I wonder, like, how much, like, the North Korean intelligence, like, how, I mean, they run a dictatorship, so obviously they have to be pretty crafty and manipulative and be able to, like, understand how the world works in order to keep that kind of, totalitarian regime going. But I wonder, like, if they see, like, how all those, like, scares, that ballistic scare in Hawaii, like, whenever that happened. And you saw all those people were getting freaked out and stuff, and then they were like, "Oh no, it was just a mishap. Someone accidentally pressed the
Well, I'm
button."
sure they're
It was
just
all
as
just-
afraid.
Well, like, and there was, like, that secular talk video where he was like, "Yeah, this is part of the U.S. They may say it's an accident, but it wouldn't be that surprising if it was, They did the same thing in Japan recently where there was a scare like that. The U.S. is trying to test, like, what would happen if there was how many people would die if there was a real event like that, and, like, if they were doing, like, these tests to see, like, a drill, but no, don't say it's a drill, to see how, try to get some statistics. And I wonder if North Korea sees that, like, oh my god, they think we're going to nuke them.
I
This is
think
really worrisome.
Kim Jong-un
Because, I mean,
is in a
that-
position, right, where he thinks he has some power. He doesn't think he has the power to the same degree the United States would have. And something as false as, like, what happened in Hawaii and what happens in Japan regularly, I'm sure it affects his outlook on it. Like, oh, I'm high and mighty 1 second, and then America makes a mistake and thinks we're nuking them. We have to put our
that's all
tone
it
down a little.
takes. It doesn't have to be real. I mean, you look at every other friggin'. I mean, the two biggest clashes we were in were based off, like, very sketchy information. I mean, the entire freaking Vietnam War was based off what was later, like, discovered to be a fabrication, and, like, because of the Pentagon Papers and all that stuff.
Yeah, I
So,
read about-
I mean, it wouldn't be unbelievable to think that the U.S. would be the one to start the conflict, especially if you were trying to sell out of bombs. But that would never happen because, I mean, the deep state and all that crap, I don't think they want to see. There's a lot of money in
Now,
South
Alex,
Korea, so it doesn't make a lot of
recently-
sense for the
Recently, I
that crap
heard
to
the
happen.
State Department say there was no deep state, so you need to correct yourself right there.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the credible CIA. They've never told anybody to shut up
Scouts honor.
without asking them first,
Oh,
obviously. You
mm-hmm.
know. They always ask for your permission before they topple your government. But, no. So, I just, that's the thing, is it's like, I wonder how much North Korea, the officials, what they think they know, and what they do know, and like what's actually true. Because I mean, obviously they're scared because they're scared of the regime being collapsed and in fire and in war. Because I mean, they're probably assuming the U.S. is going to be the one to attack first, but I just don't really see that happening because
Well, they're
there's just
hoping the
too
U.S.
much.
are going to be the one who attacks first. If
I mean, well,
look,
well
if
they don't
North
want
Kor-
anybody. That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't be doing this if they didn't want anyone to attack. Because I mean,
look
they
what
don't,
happens
because that
if
would be
the
the end.
United
Either
States
way,
attacks.
that would be the end.
Look at what happens if the United States, attacks first. China's going to be super pissed at us. They're probably going to start, bombing us. Because freaking, that's not how it works, Mr. America. You got to let them
I
attack
don't
you
know if
first
it'll
before
go
you
that
can bomb them.
far. See, I don't know what would happen. See, that's the thing. We've never had a situation in the world where another country has, like, post-Cold War or just post-World War II, where a country has, like, dropped a bomb and then the whole world has to watch. Like, no one's ever done that. No one at a time that people
Well, in
actually had
modern
nukes.
times.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but what I mean is, like, let's say you have a situation where you flip a nuke Pyongyang, like what would happen? Would China be like, we're not supposed to drop those.
Whoops.
Are we being attacked? Like, because when you see that missile in the air, you don't. I mean, you know where it's gonna. We have math and all things that I don't know about, but you have all those things and you know where it's gonna land. But what do? Like, I don't know what the policy is. Do they react and retaliate, or do they try to shoot it down? Or even if it's not attacking them, what do? You just let it drop on the ground. I mean, I know you can't stop it, but I mean, or it's really
you
hard
could try to
stop
blow it
one.
up in the air, but that's
Yeah, but
it's a
what I'm
maybe
saying is, like, if you're
situation.
that country, do you attempt to stop it, or do you just let them nuke the other country? Because I mean, or do you retaliate
Well,
because you might
it
think,
all
oh, this
depends,
is it,
on like their
this is
like treaties.
yeah. Well, I think the U.S. would most likely. I mean, this crap happens all the time. Before there's any kind of nuclear test or any kind of anything that has to do with shooting something into the sky, the U.S. usually tells everybody else what's going on. But then sometimes we don't, and that's whenever you have like a Red Scare situation, or what they're like a nuclear scare where the world almost ends.
Oh well.
Whenever you don't tell anybody that you're gonna shoot a satellite up in space, and
I
then
mean, look, you just
somebody
gotta
thinks it's the end.
you gotta dig a hole in your backyard. I mean, that's the only way you're gonna be safe in a situation like this. You gotta get down. Okay.
It's the only way, man.
Fallout it up.
Right. Yep. But I don't know. It's a weird situation because I mean that was something like had to do a college paper like that it became my report, and I wanted to do it on like because it's a world politics class, and she was like, "Oh, you got to do a response paper," and it's like the big final like grade for the class, and I wanted to do like the military-industrial complex and all that stuff because it's world politics, it's about foreign policy, and I was going to talk about like how, how military contractors influence foreign policy, and it could be really interesting. But I didn't. I guess she didn't take it or whatever. But she gave me like nuclear proliferation and the problem with North Korea, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting subject. I mean, I could have got a lot worse. But the thing is, it's like there's a lot of conflicting information because I've always thought, and the left wing part of the country in South Korea has always thought that the way to do it is diplomacy. Because before, like the 90s, I think there were actually like factories that North Korean and South Korean people would like work at, and there was like some economic bonds. But over the years, it's kind of fell apart. So, but my point is, like, diplomacy is always the key. Like, whenever you get two societies interacting with each other economically, they're less likely to go to war. And I feel like that would be the solution to get eventually
I mean, look at North
solve
Korea and
human
South
rights
Korea right now.
issues.
Like South Korea has a booming economy. They're one of the leaders in technology, and they're just it's a great place, South Korea. While just right across the street, North Korea, they're eating rats and stuff. I'm sure, if North Korea looked to the South, and was like, hey, let's be buddy buddy, again, it would definitely promote growth in both sides, and heck, at the end of the day, it may prevent any sort of bombings and stuff. I don't know. It's
And another thing is like, would you, if you were in a position, because I've always thought like, reason why Kim Jong Un, because he's offered to give up his nuclear weapons, and the U.S. has refused him, like in the past, like because it wasn't Kim Jong Un, I think it was like Kim Jong Il or whatever, but the North Korea's offered to give up their nuclear weapons in exchange for like their sovereignty or whatever you want to say, but the U.S. denied them. And the only reason I would know why is because, the U.S. wants to forcibly take over the country.
Well, I mean, look at their resources they have over there that they can't even access
keep
themselves.
the war machine going.
I think it's less about war and more, the U.S. wants to become bigger. There's literally, miles and miles of untapped resources in North Korea. The United States would love to get their hands on if they could.
And not even that. I think a lot of it I think that's it. I think that's the key of it. I think it's not even that the U.S. They know that if there's a war that would kill tons of people, that would not be profitable. Because the reason why in Iraq, propping up a war machine was a good thing is because you got free oil, and you were damaging a part of the world that wasn't that developed. So you weren't pissing off rich people. But if you did that in South Korea, you'd be pissing off a lot of rich people. So I think if you were gonna talk about like with the contractors, or if you're gonna talk about the never ending revolving door politics, it would be ramp up the war machine. We're not gonna go to war with North Korea. We're just gonna kind of like a standoff, and we're gonna try to scare everybody so we can just keep that war machine going. We need a bad guy.
Well, it's all about planting the idea into the people.
You have this.
When you look at the Russia scare right now, I mean, the media are the ones pushing
that was about
And
it's so we can flip it, and we're putting more troops on the NATO border and stuff like that. It's so. I mean, obviously, we're never going to go with war with these countries. If we do, it would be by accident. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Somebody hits a button.
Yeah, that would be it. Like, it's not in the plan. I don't think it's in the plan, because to be in the plan would be really dumb, because it makes no sense. Like, war is not the way you make money as a country anymore, by stealing someone's resources, unless they're a really poor country. You're not going to invade Russia to steal all their oil. You would just buy it, because it's cheaper to do it that way. But if you were, a war company, that you made a lot of money making bombs, and you gave a lot of money to politicians, and they're corrupt and they don't give a crap about that, then that's a more passive way to keep making.
Well, that's how they're making their money. They're investing, all this government funds and stuff into the industrial war complex, and it's just, it's making money.
And it never ends. And so when you create another Red Scare, the only way that could ever devolve into a war is if you had like a World War I situation, or something like that, where it was like an accidental misfire, and it happened repeatedly. Because we've had situations before where, like, I think Turkey, they shot down a Russian jet fighter, and it was like a big deal, and then but it was a big deal for like one day or like a week, and then Putin was like, yeah, whatever. Because,
to be fair, look at American politics right now in the media. 1 second, they're covering what happened yesterday, like, say in the Women's March that happened recently. 2 days later, they're not mentioning it at all. They're just jumping topic to topic. And, back when, Turkey shot down that Russian jet, it was an accident, but they didn't push, for a war. They, tried to help push that, it was an accident for a day or two, and, it lasted longer than it is now.
And I think that's how, because I think neither one of these countries, even though they create the facade, like the facade that there's like these aggressions towards one another. I think like Trump, or even I don't know about Trump, but I know Putin and any Democratic or Republican president in the past would be like, it makes no sense to go to war. None of my donors want that. None of the American people want that, but usually it doesn't matter. But the donors are what matters, and they don't want that, because that would not be economically. It wouldn't make any sense. It would just tank the stock market. It would. It would the resource
take
scarcity.
A lot of their value out of what they have.
Yeah, and I mean, you'd have a war going, and that'd make a lot of people money. But I mean, that's not. I don't think that's the point. The point is just to keep it going, because there's a certain point whenever it pisses off more people by actively engaging in it than just to like keep the scare going.
I mean,
Like if
look
you
at the
just keep the Red Scare going, and you
look at
keep the
the
threat of China, and you keep the threat of North Korea, you get to keep making bombs, and politicians keep to get making excuses for it.
Yeah, I agree. I
So
mean, look at the war on terror. It lasted, 4 presidential terms, and it's still, happening now. I mean,
yeah, and
there's
I think that's why you see politicians starting to move away from it. That's why people, and I mean that's not the only reason. I think it's because there's enough people, that citizens. It's finally such a widely held belief that Iraq was dumb, and politicians can't just avoid that anymore. I think that's one factor, and that's why you see whenever you see like an establishment Democrat or establishment Republican, whenever they talk about what's the greatest threat to the U.S. They'd
Republicans.
say like, "Oh, it's Russia, it's China, it's North Korea." They don't talk
Those
about
darn
terrorism,
foreigners.
and I think you're going to start seeing that because I think this whole Red Scare thing has engulfed the country, and I think about like
Well, it
whenever
isn't. It's another
that's another
Cold War
thing.
situation. I mean, they're trying to
Yeah, that's another
ramp
thing.
it up.
So, but that's another thing, Ellen, that I don't think we've ever talked about. So whenever we watch Jimmy Dore or whatever, and you hear like, or not even just when you hear the news of like what happened after freaking the night that Hillary lost or whatever, you immediately saw like this big write up of like, okay, well, how are we gonna do it? We're gonna blame it on Comey, and we're gonna blame it on the Russians, and then we're gonna blame it on Bernie Bros, and we're gonna blame it on all these things. And I wonder, like, and obviously the Russia thing is transformed into this like this Red Scare, and like everybody freaking out about what Trump's allegations, and I mean,
Well,
obviously
he's going to be
he's a
caught any
corrupt
day now.
businessman, but that's nothing new. I mean, just a corrupt dude. Like it's gonna. I mean, obviously he probably did a deal with some bank in a foreign country. That's because he's a sleazy businessman. That's what they all do. I mean, if you're in his position and you do deals with them, I mean,
I mean, people
that's
with
how it
money,
works.
they're going to make money anyway. They can.
But
It's
the point is, he's a symptom. He's not the problem. The core is the system itself that allowed him to do that. But
uh-huh.
like,
Yeah,
but no, back to
exactly.
tying all this together. My whole point was, do you think that whole Red Scare thing has been like an idea and the establishment to kind of pivot away from terrorism and pivot more towards like a traditional enemy? Or do you think that started with Hillary and it's kind of just snowballed and then like now like the establishment's kind of tied onto it to try to shift away and trying to like excuse the military, ramp up even in that way?
Look, this is
'Cause
personally,
I
I
mean,
believe this has. You finish.
oh, I'm sorry, I hate to keep it, but my last thing, if Hillary never, if I don't want to say just Hillary, but if the Democrats or just if this Red Scare thing would have never happened, do you think we would have saw an increase of troops, on the Russian border or in Poland and stuff like that? Do you think we would have saw that, or do you think it would have never happened?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Look, all this Russia stuff definitely happened, right after the election. It wasn't, just because, oh, we want to, this was a plan for the establishment all along. This happened because, Hillary was an unlikable candidate. And, to justify the Democrats' position, for supporting her, blindly, I mean, they have to make it look like she lost, unfairly, unjust. She was in a situation where the Russians and Donald Trump, ruined the election for her. It was just a big push to delegitimize the Trump administration. That way, going into 2018 and 2020, they're going to have a better chance of, winning. It's all just to promote the Democratic Party at the end of the day, and it has nothing to do with the real establishment, motives.
Yeah,
And like you said, it did snowball. Like the media picked up on all this Russia mess and started promoting it daily. Whether or not for just money because they're drawing in people because of the election and all the
I mean,
politics.
it's an easy, like everyone loves like a chase. Yeah, it's just that's what it is. It's a witch hunt. Like I
It
mean,
is
that's
a witch
easy.
hunt. Not to give Trump
And
credit or anything, but a lot of
yeah, I
this
mean, I don't
is
want to sound like we're apologizing for him. Obviously, he's a horrible guy, and he's done a lot of corrupt stuff. And I'm sure, I mean, he's already proven that he's obstructed the justice process, so he could be impeached for that alone. But if you're talking about optics, is that the thing you want to focus on? Because does that get people out in the streets to want to vote for you?
No, it
You know,
doesn't. It
it's
makes it look like, oh, we're only doing this, Russia, and the midterms and the 2020 election. The Democrats are going to be like, okay, we're not Trump, vote for us. It'll be another 2016 thing. They need to go back, whether it be Obama's term or Jimmy Carter's term or whatever, it doesn't matter. They need to go back to a situation where they're attacking, opponents based on their policy. Not because of some fake Russia, scare or the war on terror or anything like that. We're losing focus on that stuff.
Man, I was gonna segue into something, but I can't think what were we talking. So we were talking about North Korea, and it was gonna tie in well.
We want to talk about Doom.
Oh well, we'll talk about Doom.
But Doom.
Talk about Doom after this, because I'll say one more last thing about it, and then we'll be done. So like, dang it, I'm lost. I lost it. Either way, I want to try to tie everything together. Okay. Yeah. Either way, but I mean, so yeah, I mean, I just think the optics are bad, and the whole Russia thing, it kind of evolved into this just like never-ending. Like, I don't know when it's gonna end, but I do know.
I know when it's gonna end.
Not a lot.
It's gonna end as soon as Democrats realize that they're not winning, pushing this mess.
That was it. Yes, Alan. Okay, so I think you're gonna have like the same weird, like, so we were talking about North Korea and like how it's weird because like what we would want to happen to get the solution that we want, like would be not to have aggression, because aggression is the way you get North Korea to agree with us, and diplomacy is the key, and things like that. But I think it's what's weird about Trump is that he actually, like when we're talking about the Democrats, I know whenever I thought during the primary and after the general, if he won, the Democrats are just going to keep losing. But they're just going to keep losing until a progressive comes around and turns everything around.
I mean,
and I still
change.
Believe that. But you still have like this. You have this Trump effect where he's like a lot of Democrats have won these special elections, and it's really weird because I was surprised about that. I was surprised.
I mean, they're corporate Dems too. It's not like these guys are progressive or anything.
Yeah, I know. That's what's so weird about it, and I think people just hate Trump so much, and that's what worries me the most is that Democrats can just ride that wave of hatred. And then by the end of it, they're not going to have anything to show for it because they still don't have a message. Yeah.
They're not going to have anything to focus on at the end of the day. And dead.
But the whole point is all of our assumptions, everything's weird. What I thought was going to happen is not what's happening. Even though, I mean, like Doug Jones or whatever, I mean, he's 2% better than a pedophile. That's apparently what the people of Alabama or Mississippi or whatever, I don't even know. That's what they think, because I mean he won against Roy Moore by 2%. It's not a lot. He was terrible. Roy Moore was a terrible guy. I mean, and he only won by 2%. Like, how did you let that happen? I mean, he still was an upset. I thought he was gonna lose.
You see, Alabama's the real progressives.
Yeah. You're right.
They can support a pedophile and not feel weird about it.
Yeah. How progressive, man. They're really breaking down the barriers. But anyway, I think that wraps everything up. Yeah, I mean, we saw the Bernie Sanders town hall with the Medicare for All thing, and that was really cool. I really liked that a lot.
It was good.
I didn't watch it. I just heard a lot of stuff about it.
I watched the beginning.
So Anna was the one that asked all the questions, or was it somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. She introduced everybody. She gave some of the audience's questions, some of the media's questions, stuff like that.
Yeah. Was there any, what was some of the good questions?
I stuck to the panels. Basically, I didn't really catch a lot of the questions. One had to do where, how are we going to get these companies to stop giving, employees just slightly under the amount of time they need to be able to provide healthcare for them, so they don't have to. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like Walmart does that crap all the time. Like, well, every retailer does that. Um, but basically, I was gonna say, um, Alan, are you there?
Hello.
Oh,
What?
okay. I saw your mic moving and I didn't know. Oh yeah, yeah. So basically, I was gonna say, like, was there any questions that you would see on a CNN panel, like, how are we gonna
Yes,
pay
yes.
for it, y'all?
I saw.
Oh, there were. Okay.
I can't name anything specific. It's all crossing my mind, but it'd be like the questions you see at like a debate, back like in the 2016
Mm,
thing.
mm,
Um,
mm.
then again, it was mostly progressive people because it was an online, only debate about
Yeah,
healthcare.
yeah. I was impressed. Like, I'm glad that, like, it just blows my mind, man, how much of effect he's had, how Bernie's had on like the discussion. Like, I would have never thought that like that we
Freaking
would be
socialist.
having a town. Yeah, well, because I mean, like, I remember before the primary, man, like, obviously we wanted universal health care and stuff like that. But what Bernie did is he just was like, yeah, you can have all that. And that's not just where it stops. Like, you can have all of them. And you can get whatever you want. Like, this is a progressive movement, and he motivated a lot of people, and he taught people about the issues and stuff. And like, and I think that's the main thing, is he taught people how to articulate their views and stuff like that. And the fact that like he doesn't call it universal health care, he calls it Medicare for all,
Well,
which that
I
makes it
think
a
he was
lot
pushed
like
into that
that.
sort of situation. He was, he
Hmm.
was for single payer, and he moved into, well, I guess he was always for, like, oh, the government should, cover health care for everybody in the United States. But it was the debate got shifted during the election to a Medicare for all situation because right after the election, Trump's like, oh, we're going to get rid of Obamacare, so Bernie jumped on, hey, let's expand Medicare.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm glad the debate exists. I mean, I'd rather it exist than it not exist.
yeah, we
Um,
need we need more people getting in
yeah,
to
we
the
definitely need a lot
topics.
more of it. I'm really excited. Um, well,
We
we'll talk about Doom.
we can talk about Doom. I mean, there are plenty of things to talk about gaming wise. Reddit
Okay
is
then.
the man.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
tell me the right. I don't give a crap about Doom right now. I mean, I'm playing too or
Goodbye,
something,
Doom.
but tell me about it.
Um, so
What's
Xbox
happening
is
in the
expanding.
gaming world?
Xbox is expanding the Game Pass thing where they're going to be able to, they're swapping it over come the end of this year, where like, okay, the new Gears of War game, the new Forza game, the new Halo game, they're all going to be available day one on Game Pass.
Hmm.
Like just the brand new games. Like you're going to be able to play Halo 6 launch day if you have Game Pass. And I'm like,
Better. It's expensive. It is. Like, that's the thing about Xbox Pass is it's a lot more
well, it's like
expensive than EA
$10 a
Access.
month, but
Yeah, which is a lot. But like EA Access is like $30. Um,
I mean, you get
but go
more
go continue.
with
Yeah,
you get
you do
more
get
with
a
Game
lot more. You get
Bucks.
a crap ton
Game
more
Pass.
games. EA is just EA.
Hmm.
But keep because we'll talk about that in just a second. But what
Um,
else?
what else happened
Like
in the gaming
is
scene?
there anything else about the pass,
Uh,
or is that
all
it?
future Xbox One exclusives are going to be a permanent part of it moving forward. That's according to
Yeah,
Mr.
is the
Larry Herb.
Xbox Pass is that for PC as well? Like, is that on the
Yeah,
Windows Store, or
it's
is
for
that just an
PC too.
Xbox thing?
Oh, games through the
Oh,
Xbox
okay.
Anywhere
Cool.
thing.
Cool. Ooh. So that means
Halo
that the next
6
Halo game is gonna be on
PC.
PC.
Oh, goodbye Xbox.
Dude, man,
Xbox
that could
done.
be the next iteration of all the CE pure Halo CE purists out there will finally have their own custom edition to make a good Halo game if 343
No,
screws it
no,
up.
no. They're
I
gonna be
hope.
complaining about
Uh,
Halo 6 because they're like, oh, what? We jumped from Halo 2 to freaking Halo 6 on PC. What? How's that work?
yeah, yeah. How am I supposed to read? This story's too complicated. Um, but yeah.
Too much graphics.
Man, I didn't know Chief's armor changed that much. Why is Cortana dead? What happened? So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of questions. Um, that'd be so cool, man, if they released the Master Chief Collection on PC and it
Well, they
functioned.
may.
Uh,
There's always discussion. I'm sure it won't have any. If
God,
they did port it over the PC, it wouldn't have anything like Halo Custom Edition. But
yeah, yeah.
it'd be cool. I mean, Halo 1 through 4, plus all the other
Xbox Live
games,
Pass thing.
just on PC.
But what'd you say? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
you're lagging a little
nothing.
bit.
Go ahead.
Okay. Alright. But like with the Xbox Live Pass thing, my only worry with all that crap is like I don't want to I don't want to see a world where one, I don't physically own a game, like because then that means game rentals won't exist anymore, and that's really beneficial. Like I mean, because I'm a cheap person, um, and I like to rent single player games because they're just too expensive for play like once. Like you just,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
you
just
want
I
the
know like with
online only everything.
yeah.
Freaking
I know with
Netflix
our
for
group of
Xbox.
friends, we play social-oriented multiplayer games and stuff where you're constantly like, having to like there's a lot of player engagement with the games that we play. Like we put at least, I mean, at least 1,000 hours before we're done playing a game. Like at the least.
Yeah, I mean, you look at
Like our friends
Destiny
group
or some people who
or
play
the
The
Division.
Division. Cough, cough.
Oh, yeah, dim boys. You look at all that and you're like, those games, and I think that's what they want. They want these service-driven games that you play for an extended amount of time. Because one, they can make games every year, and they can make you pay a subscription for a service for it. But I just don't want a world where, well, like, there's like the Ubisoft Pass, Sony Pass,
I mean,
the flipping the Activision Pass, the EA Pass, and my thing is like
look what's
we've already
happening to
reached
the
that point where I
TV
don't think they're going to
industry.
merge.
Look what's happening to the TV
Yeah, it's
industry
gonna
right now.
become like
Well, you
TV.
can get the Disney Pass, which I mean they bought Hulu, so they
Yeah,
don't have to.
yeah,
Have it.
exactly.
Or Netflix
It's
or
the
Amazon.
same thing with like Netflix and stuff. Like Netflix used to have a monopoly on like the service
Yeah,
thing,
and then they
but
started
now that
splitting up. They wanted
Disney's
to get
gonna
more
have their own thing,
original
you're not
content.
gonna have Disney movies anymore.
Netflix, they're deciding to, hey, we could either, invest the same amount into paying for a show to just show up on Netflix, or we can use that same money and, invest into an original show. And that's where, Netflix is going. While, Hulu, they care about having all those, just TV shows everywhere, all the networks.
Yeah, and I think you're gonna see like a thing where, I mean, maybe it's good because you get to see a little bit more competition in terms of original content, but you're gonna see it in networks like Hulu and Netflix try to develop their own franchises, and they're gonna start losing their royalties to all these different movies and service and like all these.
Yeah,
So
I feel
you're
like
gonna make it less convenient for the consumer. You're gonna have the Disney Pass, and you're gonna have the flipping, and you're gonna have like the Warner Brothers Pass and the Sony Pass if you want to watch the new movie, and where does that like in the future of like movie theaters, where you can rent movies now, like the day they come out, and they cost a little bit more, but I mean, well, they cost a lot more, but they assume you're going to watch it with your family, and like, so where does that leave that kind of content? Are there going to be a separate Disney Pass? Like if you want to watch the Disney movie that comes out and you want to watch it at home, are you going to have to buy a Disney subscription? Or is it going to be a separate thing? Like, I feel like every single company is going to become like cable, where they all have their own ecosystem.
Alex,
And you have to pay into that ecosystem.
right now we're seeing all the apps and stuff. You're like, oh, you got Hulu, Amazon, Netflix. They're all breaking up the shows into different subscriptions. At some point, each of these subscription services are going to merge into a big one, which that's a scary scenario. Or they're going to, be blended up into a situation like, oh, you want to watch TV shows from old channels? You go to Hulu. Or if you want to watch original shows, you're going to go to Netflix. Because I think Netflix is eventually going to not have any just regular TV shows. It's all going to be original content. And they're going to be known for original content.
And I mean, their original content's good.
I mean, they invest a lot of money. Like Stranger Things, House of Cards, shows like that. Those are great shows.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how the industry is right now. It's all going to, each is going to have their own service in the future, and the small ones are going to merge into like Hulu or something.
Yeah, and where does that leave the consumer? I mean, unless they drastically reduce their prices because they will have to be paying all these royalties. I mean, that's one reason why Netflix is so expensive. It's just because they can't. I mean, I don't know how expensive it is to, keep the service running, but I can tell you that, I mean, I'm sure it's not friggin' their original content that's being that burden. It's most likely probably all the royalties they have to pay.
Dude,
And
that's
I mean,
where
I heard
the
one
most
thing
of their money goes.
they've
That's
had to,
why they're moving over.
yeah, and they've tried to like increase the price of Netflix before. Like, wasn't it like when it first came like $6?
Yeah, and then
it
it jumped
10,
up like 10 to 12. You know,
Yeah,
it just goes up.
yeah, yeah.
I
it
think
goes
Hulu's
up,
gonna
and I
have the
mean, I'm
same
sure.
thing where, the more content they get, they're gonna start charging more. Right now, I have a
Yeah,
Hulu and a Netflix subscription. I got Hulu Live TV. My house is basically transitioning from cable to just Hulu Live TV and stuff, and we pay like $60. In the future, when they have more stuff, it could be around $80 or $100. It all depends, what they invest into.
but I think if it's not as beneficial and you don't get as many shows, I could see the price going down. I mean, maybe
That's a rare
Netflix will be really
situation.
super cheap in the future
I
because they don't have any shows besides their own.
that makes sense. I mean, if they all move over to original content and stuff, heck, what's the point of charging $13-14? I mean, you only have original
Or you're
content.
just gonna have like a new service come along that's gonna combine all of it together, and we're literally gonna have cable on YouTube, or I'm sorry, on the internet.
I
Or
mean,
it's
have you
just
seen
gonna be
YouTube TV?
Like that's, yeah. So I mean, but when it relates to video games, it's kind of sad because you're seeing, and with movies in general, you're seeing we're losing the tangibility that we have, like the control that you have over your movies and your games. That's what sucks about a digital service, is that you don't own anything anymore.
Yeah, I'm
You're,
afraid
like,
at some point
borrowing
we're gonna jump all into digital. Like, you're not gonna be able to buy Blu-rays or HD Blu-rays or DVDs or anymore. It's all gonna be just streamed online. I mean, what do you do in a situation like that? You don't own anything, and you have to pay a monthly subscription for your media.
Yeah. Daddy's alright. Mommy's alright. Go with surrender. Surrender. Just sing a little.
This is a nice song, Alex.
weird. Oh yeah. Okay, so like I know
Ooh.
Disc Decay, right?
Yeah.
But like, I mean, still, I guess it's the same thing with like Xbox, right? Like, whenever I lost my account, like, and it took me a while to get back, I was like, dang, like that's $1,000 almost, or probably more than that. I mean, how many years have I owned this account? How many games I've bought digitally? And I know we buy games digitally because the whole Xbox, we can link our accounts and stuff and save a ton of money that way. And it's like, you don't own anything. I mean, I guess you do digitally, and I guess that'll be the future. You just,
Well,
like, you own
if somebody steals it,
a
like in your
license
situation,
to
they're
your
just
code.
you don't have that anymore. They just stole,
Yeah, you
how
don't
much money you
have
put
it. It's
into it.
gone. And I mean, I guess the benefit is convenience, and it's forever yours as long as it doesn't get stolen,
Exactly.
or lost. And I guess that's it. But then it comes down to like, so how did the whole streaming and multiple? Because I mean, I like the idea of the Xbox Pass because I get to play a bunch of games. Like I recently went back and I played like the Metro games, and I've never played those. And the reason why is because Tyler he got it. Just to try it out, and that was interesting, and it was really fun. I also got to play, like Metal Gear 5, like the Phantom Pain or whatever, and it was okay. But you have like that's cool, but other than that, I worry like you're gonna have the Ubisoft Pass and all, but maybe it'll just become part of Microsoft. Like it'll become like eventually Sony and
They'll
Xbox.
just merge into like
yeah,
you
it'll
buy
make
the
a
box
deal
or you
and it'll
stream
all
it,
your
and you spend like $70 a year or something. I don't know. You
yeah,
get access
or,
to everything.
It's like an optional thing for Xbox Live. I don't know.
It's
Interesting.
so I
What else is going on?
the Switch is doing stuff. They got that cardboard thing.
What kind of stuff?
Oh
boy.
We could talk
Talk to
about
me
the
about
cardboard thing.
Good cardboard. Goddamn.
Yeah, baby.
I mean, why would I pay $80 for a box?
The
I
future.
don't understand.
Look, you
They're
spend.
gonna be selling this to schools, and they're gonna be paying like tax dollars is gonna be going towards cardboard,
Money.
and it's expensive cardboard. Like, what is this?
You're gonna have to buy replacement kits every month because some kid's being too rough with it.
I mean, you really think a kid's gonna take? It's freaking like, you know how easy it is to break cardboard if you're not fragile, like if you're not careful. I just
You gotta pretend like it's
I
fine
don't
art
know.
when you're
I
playing with your cardboard.
respect the creativity.
That's what Nintendo's known for.
That's it. Uh huh. That Reggie power.
That Wii U power.
Oh baby.
Look where that went.
Only if it was called the Wii 2.
Ooh.
It made money then.
It would.
And that would have been a weird alternate reality. I wonder how it would have done. Like, it's like.
I mean, if Nintendo got the idea to people, like, okay, this isn't an add-on for the Wii, this is a new thing, you know, and did their advertising better, I'm sure it could have picked up. It did a lot better. Still, they had like a year of that, you know, just period where they thought it was an add-on, and like,
It's a cool temporary solution. I mean, it feels like Google Cardboard, like in that term, like it's like VR until we can get it for real. And that's what it feels. And I say that because like you see like HoloLens. Like I know we got so hyped for HoloLens, and now like it's been 4 years and it's still stuck in space or something. I don't know where it went, but either way, there hasn't been like any progress that I've seen. I think there was like a tech demo, like the last like Windows Con or whatever you call it, or they like showed off some people making some stage and some French people were getting hyped because I don't know, they were running a runway or whatever.
sounds like
And
Ubisoft.
that's cool. Yeah, they'll be at the next one. It'll be like the Division for real. Like you'll have your little map down, and you'll have the HoloLens. It'll be just like the real E3 trailers, and the guy will be just standing on stage with the HoloLens on. But you know that would actually be super cool. But I see crap like that, and I think that's the future of you know, interacting, like educational interaction. We talked about that where it was like, man, imagine if you could like your chemistry teacher, whenever he like, you all had HoloLenses, right? But it was like a super tight, you know, like it was like glasses. We're talking the future, you know, where everything's perfect. But where you know he like you're in chemistry class and he's teaching you like what a chemical bond looks like, and he physically grabs a chemical bond and it's like a hologram and you can all see it in the room and it's there and he explains.
Yeah, too bad it's
chemistry
never
to you,
coming
you know?
out. Freaking.
No,
I don't know what they
we'll
did.
Get it down.
When's the last time you seen HoloLens? Like seriously.
The French people.
They took it. They took it and they hid it.
They stole it. But all the applications for that type of crap. I think, you know, with the Switch, it's like a temporary thing. When it comes to the Vivo or whatever, the cardboard, it's like a temporary thing.
I mean,
it'll be cool.
You look at
one
Microsoft,
day.
they want to invest in the holograms. You look at Nintendo, they want to invest in cardboard. I mean, it's both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Nintendo's more pragmatic. But anyway, yeah, it'll be cool. Maybe I'm not buying it. I mean, I don't have a kid.
You don't got a Switch.
And I don't run a school budget, so I doubt.
You wanted to bootleg, you know, Zelda on the Wii U on your PC.
Don't tell the people about my piracy.
You wanted to buy it, and just couldn't find the money.
Yeah. I'm trying to
I'm a
run
real
Breath of the
Switch
Wild on a surface is not ideal.
I'm gonna buy that piano kit out of cardboard. It's gonna break in 2 days, but I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna get the fishing pole, and it's gonna be nice. I'm gonna spend $70.
So that's the one that doesn't make any sense to me. Why is there a string? What's the string do on the fishing pole?
What does it do? I mean, it's just for show.
Because it's not. Is it connected to a button, or is it just for, like, fulfill your imagination?
You're just dangling like a bead in it, and you know the controller senses it. I don't know.
That is cool. The HD vibrations, like the Switch is like a Swiss Army knife for everything Nintendo's ever wanted to do. Like it has motion controls, has really cool like
seriously, I think someday they're gonna be able to port Wii games to it.
Yeah, no doubt. It's gonna be really cool. Like it's a Game Boy, it's a GameCube, it's a Wii, it's a
like
Wii
a mini
U, like,
iPad.
it's everything.
Like it's Nintendo.
Yeah,
and
it's an ice cube as well. It's a glass of ice.
You don't forget those ice cubes. And every
Oh
controller.
boy. And every I love that commercial so much. Is the
Splatoon
HD
2.
Rumble, is it really that good? Like, what's it like? Did you get to shake some ice cubes around inside of it?
I mean, I played the Mario Party ripoff, like 1-2 Switch, and I gotta be honest, it was cool, but it wasn't, anything revolutionary. I'm sure there are better games that, use it better, but,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Usually when Nintendo make a first-party game, they get it right. Because they're the only ones that, like, I mean, they make these games. I mean, 1-2 Switch. I don't know how long they spent on that one, but you have a game like ARMS, where like, I mean, I'm sure it's like Super Mario Galaxy. It's like they designed that game with the Wii controller in mind, and it's like, well, I guess a lot of games that came out really didn't utilize, besides ARMS, but like they didn't really utilize the tech of the Switch, probably because it's just so multi-purpose. They can save all that for down the line, because there's not many features to show off, besides that you can take it anywhere, and it has a lot of like
mobile
nods
Skyrim, Alex,
from the old console.
That's what people buy it for.
That's the real like flippy. Okay, so the fact that the Switch has done so well, it's like the Wii. Like they will downgrade the next Battlefield to make it run. That's what they did with the original Wii. They flipping took NW2 because they knew that everyone owned a Wii, so they knew at least a quarter of the people were going to buy it. So they slimmed down Call of Duty just to make it fit. It didn't matter if it ran.
Black Ops
it just
2
had to
Wii
be
U.
playable.
Good game.
Yeah, I mean, you would never think that would have been a reality of you, but it was on the Wii, and that's because everybody bought it. So you're going to see the same thing with the Switch. You're going to see all these games that you never thought would ever come to a Nintendo console, but they will. Like, I can guarantee you that there's going to... Wait, isn't there already, like, a Battlefront 2 in development?
I don't think so, but, it's on the way.
Okay, but I mean, that crap is going to sell like hotcakes. It will. Because, I mean...
Day one.
DICE... I think DICE is going to make ports of their future games. I mean, the Frostbite engine, like on my Surface, runs like Battlefield runs like 30 frames. Playable. More than enough playable. Especially if you had a handheld where you could lower the resolution even more. And you wouldn't notice. Throwing a bunch of motion blur. You're done. All you need to do. That's what they did with Doom. I'm still surprised they got... We need to talk about Doom. That'd be a great way to end the podcast, was to talk about Doom.
Okay, what do you want to talk about Doom?
So, it's awesome. We need to make a podcast about Doom, because there's so much Doom that I just want to talk about. I mean, I know we're like 2 years late, but the reason why this is relevant is because, like, it is what a first-person shooter is supposed to be. It's like you play Halo 1, and this is a good game. You play, like, maybe... like Call of Duty 2, and that's where it ends. That was the last of the good game. And that ever since then, it's just been slow, methodical, and overly methodical. And it's just lost what it even wanted to be whenever it was slow and methodical. Now it's just like some weird amalgamation of tech demos and movie trailers. And that's it. And like you play Doom, and you're like, man, this is like what a first-person shooter. It's all about just like fast-paced action. Anyway, Doom, it's a masterpiece. We can end it there. I mean, it's not a masterpiece. It's not but it reminds me of an old game, like Return of Castle Wolfenstein. I mean, our friends are going to hear this, and they're going to be like, man, there goes Alex again, flipping Wolfenstein.
What a waste of a podcast.
Yeah, talk about Wolfenstein and
politics.
Lib crap. But, yeah. The video games are just like politics. They're all just corrupted of money.
That's it. I mean, microtransactions.
That's the real reason. It's all the yeah, we're going to talk about that. It's all about the Telecommunications Act. There's no competition, so games suck. They just all cater to what makes the most money. And the publishers, they're the reason for that. I'm going to get into it. We'll have to say it for the podcast. Either way, go out, play Doom, go play Halo 1.
Oh.
Then you'll see, man. Only if there were more games like this.
Yes, nostalgia.
Or SPV3. Or SPV3.
No, quit plugging
the
mods.
Halo mod. No, it's beautiful. It's like a beautiful mod. It's like what Halo should have been. Anyway, get off my soapbox. So we talked about Doom. We can't say we didn't talk about Doom.
We mentioned Doom. Good podcast.
All right. All right. That's it. All right. Bye, everybody.
Who are you? I'm Alan. It's Alex.
I
Yeah.
don't know who I am.
All right.
I'm just some guy you can play with.
That's right.